on? Welcome to the Boys Crypto Show. Oh, man. The countdown quit a little bit before I can finish my apple there. Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Boys Crypto Show. And bang, baby, we had a monstrous day in the market. Bitcoin showing serious strength. A lot of these altcoins are responding very, very positively for BTC here, for Bitcoin dominance, maybe potentially starting to roll over. It's really hard to call right now at this moment in time, but man, look at the day here for BTC. A lot of the hottest projects in the game, monumentally topped off by Hex, EOS, Stacks, and Zcash. One of the ones I haven't seen pop up on the bubbles in a very, very long time, notably, and man, it even popped out of the top 100, it looks like. Zcash making a big move there, popped back up to about $40. That's absolutely massive. A lot of coins in the game that just look really, really hot right now, and I want to come over the hottest setups in the game with you guys. Before we do that, I want to jump on into Bitcoin. Let's dive in and see where we are at here. I got a fresh chart here, a very fresh chart, and Bitcoin looking to go for it here on the 1 hour time frame. We're sitting just a few $100s below where Bitcoin topped out here at about 97.8. We cracked that, and we could really be on our way to $100,000 tonight. Why do I say that? Well, as we predicted here on the channel, we got what we wanted. We got exactly what we wanted here on the daily, and it's more prevalent here on the 4 hour time frame. I said, hey, here on this push to the upside, what did we want to see? We wanted to see a push. Granted, it was a small push above this high volume node, and we came back down here and we did retest it on the 4 hour. We came back down here to about 96,000 and retested that. It was a little bit of a small range there, but to me, that convinced me that the bulls are now in control of this high volume node, sitting at about 96,000. That's the nearest support that is underneath us, currently sitting at about $97,100. Of course, anything could happen, but today, Fed Day, a lot of people were expecting the big, massive liquidity dump, and we just did not get that. We know here on the Boys Crypto channel, baby, that the market definitely doesn't like to do what the masses think the market's going to do. If everybody's out of Bitcoin and they think they're going to get better prices, the odds are Bitcoin's not going to go to the price that they want to buy at, right? So as we were trending down here, a lot of people were waiting for, 65, 68,000. You never got that. And is it now time to get back in for the people who skipped out on those opportunities, those juicy Bitcoin prices when bullish div was flashing them in the face? It's a hard ask right now because you're sitting 20% higher than you were down here at these prices. In my opinion, these are some of the hottest prices to get in on BTC, and still, in my opinion, to me, anything under 100,000, I think in 10 years from now, if you could look somebody in the face and say, yeah, I bought some Bitcoin under 100,000, they're going to look at you and be like, you did? That's absolutely wild. That's crazy, right? Because I think we're looking at a multi-million-dollar asset class here. But here's what I'm looking at. For BTC, I really, really, really like this bull flag right here. We did have a bull flag. Let's look at this on the 4 hour and zoom on in here so I get a better picture. I love this bull flag here on the 4 hour time frame. I love that we broke above, right? We had a false breakout, broke back inside the pattern, respected the support line perfectly here. We respected the support line perfectly. And since then, got a massive breakout, and we retested that trend line throughout the day, and now we are on our merry way. The technical target of this breakout does take us, yes, back to the highs. This is a 4 hour time frame, so this is going to take, 6 candles a day, 20 candles or so. This could play out within a week or so, getting back up to those all-time highs. I know that sounds absolutely crazy, but look at this move that we had here from about 84 up to 94. It can happen very, very quickly. And what can spark this? Well, the President Xi from China is coming to have trade talk meet here in the U.S. at the White House with Donald Trump this weekend. If we get any sniff sniff of a trade deal, baby. That is going to be massively bullish, not just for crypto, but for stock markets. Gold will definitely take a little bit of a pounding when it comes to that. But yeah, absolutely massive good news for BTC. And that did spark a rally yesterday from about 93 to 97,000. Just about as we were streaming, actually, that was a monumental pump for BTC. I see more upside for Bitcoin going from here out of the retest of this bull flag for a 12% move for BTC coming over the next week, in my opinion, back up to that $107,000 region. We've cleared the 618. We've cleared the high volume node. We've reflipped this critical area, the support resistance flip back into support. I'm not saying that there's all blue skies ahead, right? I think there's gonna be a little bumpiness along the way. We got a couple high volume nodes sticking out here that may give us some problems as we go up around 101,000 and 104,000. Those are areas where there are likely sell orders left over. But to me, we're kind of getting into the area where it's like this, to me, is looking like the last opportunity to accumulate Bitcoin under $100,000. I'll say it. I am of the opinion that this is one of the last opportunities this bull cycle that will be able to acquire and accumulate Bitcoin under $100,000. Just $1,000 gets you 1/100th of the greatest asset, in my opinion, in the entire world. So I know I say just $1,000, but I know some people don't have $1,000 to invest. Some people only have $100, but that $100, in my opinion, can turn into 1,000, 10,000 over the life of this asset. I think it's one of the best investments that you can make, in my opinion, man. This thing is going to go to multi-millions of dollars. I think you'll see a 1 million in the next 5. I think you'll see I think you could potentially see a 10 million within the next 10 to 15 year of BTC. I think that's coming, and they're only going to print more money. Our economy is about 3 times bigger than it was during COVID. That rate of growth is not sustainable, and it's propped it up by countless money printing. And talking about that, we had the FOMC meeting today, and I was reading over it. You know, I wasn't at the interview. I was actually buying a truck today. Yeehaw. But I was reading over it. I was reading over what Jerome Powell said. I ran over the transcripts, and I came to this consensus. We have rising unemployment and rising inflation, right? That's where we stand, or we have rising unemployment and rising inflation as it stands right now, despite the non-farm payroll. And we are going to continue in that direction as long as this trade war persists. That pulls the Fed in 2 opposite directions. Their thesis, what they stick with, what they base the Federal Reserve on is, hey, we need to have maximum unemployment, or minimum unemployment with minimum inflation, like the least amount of inflation for the least amount of employment, that, or the maximum employment for least amount of inflation. And they push and pull, baby. But right now they're being pulled in opposite directions, and the Fed's trying to hold them together. And to me, there's only a little bit of time before the cookie crumbles. And it's clear with what what Jerome Powell said today. He said, we're going to have to wait and see. He has no idea what's going to happen. And that struck fear into the hearts of people. I don't blame anyone for being scared of that. The guy that's in charge of how much money that we print and in control of interest rates saying, I have no idea, right? Because he's talking about the tariffs and the trade wars and the current administration not being very clear or transparent about what we're doing with these trade wars, when it's going to end, you know, what the path to resolution is. So it's going to be really, really interesting to see as the week unfolds. But the FOMC is out of the way. That liquidity sweep is out of the way. And I think we could be on our merry way here for BTC, despite the struggles within the Fed to understand and to grasp where inflation is overall, and where unemployment is going to be going based off of the tariffs and the trade war that is currently going on. Because we really don't have an updated amount of, we don't have a lot of data that has come out that is included the tariffs and the trade war, right? The economic impacts of the tariffs and trade war. We will see that more later as we go on into Q2 with the data that we have coming in. The rest of this week is pretty light. The only thing I'm tracking is this initial jobless claims tomorrow on Thursday. That's going to be really interesting at 8:30 a.m. Like every week, it always moves the market. So something I'm tracking. And then we have next week. We'll cover that, or as we go over the weekend, I'll start coming over these as the estimates start coming in. Let you know if I think they're a little high, a little low, and how the market's likely to respond. Whether I think the economists are right or wrong when it comes to their, projections and based off of the previous data that we have. So, and those would just be my opinion. opinions, but very, very interesting to see as we analyze the moves of the market. All right, baby, here we go. Diving on into the chat. Shout out to each and every single one of you guys. Here we got MH, April, Christoph, Sid Nasty Kid. Thanks for hopping on in here early, everybody, and diving on into the chat. Much love and much appreciation, guys. Please hit that like button if you haven't already. The first thing we're going to go into for MH, baby, for MH is Fomc. Let's dive on into it, man. Let's dive on into it. Fomc. So Fomc, hot meme coin, right? Hot meme coin, and we talked about this yesterday. Yeah, this is one of the ones we talked about yesterday with the inverted shoulder head, right shoulder slanted, looking very, very good here for Fomc on the 4-hour time frame. You have the shoulder head, and we speculated yesterday on this right shoulder, and over the course of the night, you did get that right shoulder that is beginning to form. It looks very good with a cup and handle as well. And are you fibbing up here? You are. Pulling from that reaction, you came down to the 786, got the bounce. That looks pretty good to me. Let's see where this would take us for Fomc. I can't really remember from yesterday, but this would be a monstrous move for this, man. This would be a monstrous reversal move for the meme coins. And I'll tell you this, I'll be the first one to tell you, the memes will move faster than anything else. They really will. These things have some massive hype behind them, and with the massive community and a lot of short interest that is still open on a lot of these meme coins, you could get some massive short squeeze to the upside. Just look at these candles here on Fomc. This shows a short squeeze of 72% in just a day and a half. Those moves can happen for Fomc, and if we crack this resistance, all these shorts that layered in here will get absolutely wrecked. And even up here, you could get a massive short squeeze to the upside. My recommendation is if you are trading meme coins that you set at take profit and you don't just say, oh, I'll check it tomorrow or whatever, make sure you set it take profit and you have a trading plan where you're going on into this, because I believe, and whenever you're looking at meme coins, you have to understand this, you're going to get a lot of candles that just look like this, right? It's going to happen. Look at this candle right here, right? Look at this. This was a 4-hour candle. Let's look at it on the daily. Look at this candle right here. This did not hang out here up at this price forever, right? And during that day, you had a 21% retrace. You got to have your take profit set. I highly recommend that for whenever you're trading, especially when you're trading things that are as volatile as meme coins. But Fomc getting the move here today, coming out that 50 RSI, getting the bounce and the stochastics reset, ready to go. Fomc looks hot, and I think this thing is going to do some massive damage as long as Bitcoin holds up where it is. Actually, you know, is Fomc even really correlated? Fomc at 436, I would say it's not super correlated to BTC. Man, a lot of these memes, Alpaca getting a 64% pump a lump, baby, on the day. Looks good. It looks really, really good to me. Fomc, I think, is one of the hottest meme setups in the game right now, and I think this thing has a very, very likely probability of moving to the upside. We did talk about a trade getting below that right shoulder and one with a stop loss below the head right there. That trade is still valid. Your risk to reward is not near as good as yesterday. Yesterday, I think it was sitting at like a 7-1, an 8-1, if I remember correctly, and now you're sitting at about a 4-1. Why? Because whenever you start moving this, right, your entry, right, if you enter now, your risk to the downside is a lot greater, right, to your stop loss, to the same stop loss that is likely to keep you safe. So it is a little bit less of a risk to reward right now if you wanted to get on in, and I want to advise putting the stop loss anywhere above these wicks right here, as this is clearly your area of support, right, based off of these candles right here, and you even had a little bit of response in these areas as well as support from the wick. So that's very, very interesting, and I think that this area is a good area of confluence. I'll put my stop a little beneath there, probably around 0.0927, right? So that'd be a good area for a stop if you were to enter now, and you can take this all the way to the target, man. I think this thing can do some massive damage. That does represent a really good risk to reward out of the shoulder, head, right shoulder inverted to the upside with the reset stochastics. I think Fomc looks hot, and Fomc looks ready to rip here with the rest of the alts. I think a lot of these meme coins are going to get a massive squeeze to the upside here coming soon. I don't think they're necessarily going to revisit their highs, right? You guys know how I feel about meme coins. I think, like you were, I don't think we're ever going to come back up and visit the highs. I just don't. I don't think there's enough money in the space to do it for every meme coin to come back to that. I think a lot of the higher cap coins are going to be taking a little bit more market dominance with utility and whatnot. This start of the bull run, I think. Of course, there's going to be memes that fly. Fomc could definitely fly. I think, Floki, Dogecoin, Pepe are all going to be around, but I think all the memes could definitely get a move. But to say all of them are going back to their highs, I don't necessarily think so. Could Ponky? Yeah, absolutely. Are there going to be a couple of them? Very, very likely. I think, a lot of the meme coins, some of them, I'd say maybe like 3 to 5% of them, I think definitely can revisit their highs and go to take new highs and potentially break into the top 100 as some of the hottest new meme projects. But I'm not an expert in meme coins, but I do know how to trade them, baby. And this looks good at the inverted shoulder, head right shoulder with the reset stochastics. Thank you, MH, for dropping that on our radar, brother. You're an absolute legend. Next one on the list for Christoph. Hey, what's going on, man? I appreciate you being here. What do I think about BNT? Yeah, let's dive on into it, man. BNT. So I'll tell you this right off the rip. I know nothing about this coin. I don't know anything about it as far as like what it does, its utility, but we'll pull it up on the charts and let me get this written down here, brother. Let me get this written down here. BNT. I can do a little dive in tonight, and I'll let you know what I think tomorrow on the tokenomics. If you guys want to know more about the tokenomics of a coin that I don't know about, right? I could do a little bit of a dive for you guys and give you guys an update tomorrow, the next day, or whenever I dive on into my little extracurricular projects here, All right, so here we go. Showing a very, very similar setup to Ponky. As you can see here, you have the inverted shoulder head. This could be your right shoulder right here. Looks very, very similar. Shoulder, head, right shoulder. Does the RSI not look similar? Looks a little stronger out of the reversal here for this right shoulder. Looks to be a little bit of ahead of the game, a little bit ahead of Ponky right here, right? It may be a little bit of foreshadowing to come. Inverted shoulder, head right shoulder, same story, man. Stochastics resetting to the downside. Now, Ponkies are resetting that blue line, right? Your signal line is crossing your mark line, or your mark line is crossing your signal line. So it looks a little stronger on Ponky's end for the stochastics, right? But if the stochastics can continue to bend here, as you come on up here to retest this line, if you get reset stochastics and you're retesting this resistance, that tells me that momentum's in the bull's favor, and you can get a massive move to the upside. The chart looks almost copy and paste exactly the same, does it not? Out of the inverted shoulder, head right shoulder, looking very, very good here for Bancor BNT, baby. So yeah, it looks good out of the inverted shoulder, head right shoulder. This target takes you all the way up, and I know it's simple trading, baby. This is simple trading. Patterns love to play out. They really do, especially on macro reversals. And here we are with an inverted shoulder, head right shoulder on BNT with stochastics resetting. We don't have any bear div right now, and you want to see more of a sustained uptrend like this, right? You don't want to see one big massive candle. Why do I not want to see that? Is because if you did put in a big massive candle right here, I would take profits at the daily or something like that if you got there too fast. And here's why. Because if you get a single big red candle or a big green candle, right, and then you get a harsh rejection, that would be something like this for the RSI, and then you would be printing bearish divergence, right? You'd be printing bearish divergence where the price would swing up while the RSI swings across, and then that would be a warning sign to me that you're going to crank this low, right? You're going to break below this low before you crank wherever the high is, wherever you top out. So that's just something I'd be tracking, man. I want a slow I don't want a slow sustained pump. Let me rephrase that. I want a consistent pump. I don't want to see something like this to the upside, if that makes sense, right? You're going to get candles like that to the upside, and that's why I recommend having your take profit set, man. Take 50% at the 200 MA. There's no shame in that, and then let the rest ride, right? So that'd be something that I'd be really, really interested in looking at here for Bancor inverted shoulder, head right shoulder to the upside. Only leverage trade that I'm in right now is the Sui call that I put out on X, baby, sitting in a nice juicy 3%, right? 3% right now from up 3%, up 9% on the trade. It's on 3X leverage, so it's looking good. But inverted shoulder, head right shoulder. So I'm just sticking with one coin right now. I'm not going to be diving on into everything, despite a lot of the altcoins looking primed on a reversal here to the upside. Looks really, really good. It's a US coin. That's only better, Christoph. That's only better. And Donald Trump, hey, I will say this. That leads me into this. Donald Trump has said on Truth Social, I have a big, big, big announcement coming. Boy, does that let a lot up in the air. But, however, if the big announcement, it could be anything. It could be anything. It could be no tax on tips. It could be tax-free crypto made in the United States. It could be anything, really. And the executive powers are pretty strong. It's wild what you can do with executive orders. Pretty much do whatever you want within, judiciary control. And even if they wanted to block an executive order, that takes time, right? That takes time. Like whatever, Trump can do whatever he wants, and then it could get stopped by the House and the Senate, and block that executive order. Or the judiciary branch can step in, but initially when the Trump uses those emergency powers, which seem to be pretty liberal, if you ask me. I'm like that the president can just do whatever he wants on the job. I understand the purpose of it, but yeah, so it's kind of, he can pretty much do whatever he wants for a very limited amount of time before they were able to step in and stop him from doing whatever he wanted to do. But if he did get that, tax-free crypto in there and sign that executive order, you will see a pump on U.S. assets. How do I know what's U.S. asset? Oh, come on over here. Coin market cap, sort things by USA made, baby, and all the way down the list. There's a hot one, I think. Chisui, baby. Chainlink looking good. But, yeah, all the way down the list, this entire thing. Ondo as well. I love, those are some of my favorite coins, man. I'm just going to talk about it because I love them. Render's on there as well. A lot of these, man. A lot of these are going to see pumps like you've never seen before in your lives, right? If in the event that you get that, because that would be the first tax-free asset that you can have here in the United States held outside of a IRA. That's awesome, right? Especially if you could trade them tax-free. You could hold them in no capital gains, right? Based off of, if it's just getting the market cap started, right? To build initial investments in cryptocurrency, you're going to see a lot of money, in my opinion, rotate from the stock market because you got to pay taxes on realized gains in the stock market if you don't have to here for crypto. Or also on your staking rewards for crypto, that would be massively huge. And I don't know how that's going to look. I don't know how it's going to lay out. But I'll tell you this. You get that, I believe you'll see a massive rotation from things that are not U.S.-based into things that are U.S.-based solely for tax purposes. Very, very interesting. When will Christoph said, when will Trump marry Musk, man? Hey, Sin Nasty Kid. Yeah, I saw that, brother. Kaito screaming to the upside. Let's look at Kaito real quick. I saw Reviews. Reviews was messaging me on X, man. He was talking about Kaito getting in on like a long or something earlier, too. So let's see how that's going for him. All right, Kaito. So that's what I'm thinking about Bancor, right? It looks really, really good. I'll do a little deeper dive into the fundamentals. Where's this sitting at right here? I don't even know if it's a meme or not, right? Bancor 475, very low market cap, 53 million. So that's interesting. Yeah, I'll dive on into it, man. I'll let you know what I think. On the year, down an older project, right? So at least some from May of 24. So I don't know how old it is, but that's interesting, man. I appreciate you dropping that on my radar. All right, let's dive on into Kaito. Kaito, the internet, baby. The internet of crypto making a monumental pump, erasing all of the downside of the last almost 2 months, is it not? Yeah, it's 2 months erased right there in 3 days. Boom. That's why it's very, very dangerous to short these assets that have been massively dumped onto the downside, because when you get those short squeezes, baby, it could get nasty. We had a giant gap here in the VRVP, and Kaito did not have a problem gapping through that gap, baby. Gapping through that gap. You gap through this massive gap, overtook the high volume node right here, and is continuing to push to the upside. Nasty Kid, the Kaito on a ripper, baby. Looking very, very good. I don't know if there was any kind of partnership or anything, something that spoke out. But, man, this thing has been on an absolute moonshot over the past few days, up 83% in just 2 days, 48 hours for Kaito. That looks really, really good. Stochastic still pointing in the upward direction. The RSI, look how far that mark line is across your signal line. That's crazy. That's crazy. That looks really, really good. I think Kaito could do some massive damage this bull cycle, especially if alt season, I'll say that again, especially if alt season does kick off and we are nearing altcoin season. If Kaito could get even a sliver of a percentage of the search volume that Google does have in reference to cryptocurrency, Kaito's gonna scream to the upside, man. It's still a relatively low market cap project. What's Kaito's market cap here? I'll check it out on Dex Screener. I don't think it's super huge market cap wise. Market cap, yeah, sitting on 363 million market cap, 89,000 in liquidity. That massive squeeze to the upside. Don't like the liquidity. That's a little low for me, but you have a massive amount of holders. Liquidity, there is somebody somewhere, that owns 46, 14, 13. There's a couple people that own a very large fraction of the pie here. Unfortunately, I cannot put this in the anti-rug because it is on wrapped ETH. And that anti-rug agent only works for agents on Solana. Volume coming in massively on this pump. Looks good for Kaito. We'll see what kind of move you can get out of this, man. And hey, a 58% pump in 24 hours. No one's ever gonna complain about that. At $355 million market cap, this thing can run. This thing can definitely run. But on the same side of this, man, your top 10, 1, 2, 3, that's 9, that's 22, 35. So you have like 90% that's held by what? There's that many. No, there's something wrong there. There's something wrong. There's no way that all these holders only hold. Yeah, there's no way that the others hold. I'll have to dive into that because that just looks like a lot. That it is a lot of Kaito being held by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 addresses. I'll dive into that a little deeper. That's interesting. But yeah. It looks good, and I think that thing could scream to the upside. Yeah, Kaito, it's a U.S. coin, cool. Or Kaito's not U.S. Kaito, wish you were still holding, man. I'm sorry, but yeah, it's nasty. You made some nasty gains there on Sui, baby, on Sui. Christoph, yeah, U.S. coin, and when will Trump marry Musk, man? I don't know. I see a lot of memes though. They're pretty funny. I don't know if you guys saw on Polymarket that Trump actually had odds to become the Pope. They made that on Polymarket. I thought that was crazy. It's a little sidetrack right here. Will Donald Trump become the next pope? And I don't know if he teased people with it, but this was not a 0 chance, right? This was up here. You know, I had a couple fractions. I don't know what it came out at. 3%? That's pretty crazy. I'll be the next pope. What? That's crazy. Please give me what? That's crazy, dude. That's crazy. It's a little picture right there. That's absolutely wild. But yeah, on Polymarket, that's wild. So yeah, crazy. But Polymarket has historically been pretty accurate, right? Whenever it comes to like economic stuff and even sports and things like that. So very, very interesting. All right. So something I want to dive on into real quick. Let's look at Bitcoin dominance. We have to, right? We have to acknowledge the elephant in the room. This thing keeps screaming to the upside. It is absolutely crazy how much Bitcoin dominance is completely taken over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This is the 10th green weekly candle in a row for Bitcoin dominance, and it is screaming up to my, hey, I'm gonna likely become a Bitcoin maxi 618786 golden pocket Fibonacci retrace. This is the area, and you know, if you're an altcoin holder, you're kind of living on a prayer right now. You're saying, man, another 0.5% or so within the next percentage of Bitcoin dominance pumpage. You need to see a rejection here. If you do not, and you get a squeeze above the 786, to me, it's very, very likely you come up and at least test these highs, and you may go on with a Bitcoin super cycle that we'll never forget, and a lot of the altcoins will be left in the dust comparatively to where Bitcoin looks likely to go once it cranks 100,000. So that's going to be very, very interesting to see as we go throughout the as we go on throughout the markets in these next couple of weeks. We are at the end of the golden pocket here for Bitcoin dominance, screaming to the upside, an unstoppable train, and you have just a bit more than about 0.6%. Yeah, to the upside to go before you're touching on that 786, and it seems like minute after minute you're sitting at all-time highs here for Bitcoin dominance. If it's gonna roll, it's got to roll soon. You got to start playing 200 MA dominoes to the downside, and no matter how much bear div you form, like you keep forming bear div after bear div after bear div, and you get nothing, right? You get nothing here. You had bear div, got defied. You had a triple set of bear divs suggesting you crank this low before you crank this high. But man, Bitcoin dominance, every time we've seen it, even on the higher time frames, has just said, I don't care, and continues to scream, absolutely scream to the upside. So we'll see. Even if we could get a little mini altcoin season like this with the size Bitcoin is right now, you guys remember this period. This was your altcoin during November, right? During November when Trump was getting inaugurated, that about 2 weeks of massive pumpage that we had for the altcoins. If this does reverse here, and I'm not saying it will, but if And I'm looking for it to. I have to until that 786 gets broken, right? I am maintaining my thesis on the 786. If this is the rejection, you're looking at a massive, massive downturn for Bitcoin dominance out of this inverted cup and handle. It could happen. It could happen fast. And, you know, you could argue that, man, we cracked the resistance line right there, but we're touching it again. We're going to touch it exactly at the 786. I don't see it blowing past there. I really don't. If it does, it'll shock me as a trader. It really, really will. But yeah, this cup and handle can take you back down to that 32% Bitcoin dominance. It's going to happen very, very fast. The last alt season only lasted a couple months here. It lasted about 133 days. That's about a little 4 months and change. So can that happen again? Absolutely. Nobody was talking about it up here when Bitcoin cracked these highs, this high and this high. So that's going to be interesting to see if this develops into one of the greatest cup and handles ever in the history of crypto. And I don't see anybody else pulling up this chart. If this was anything, if this was flipped upside down, would everybody not be calling long right now? Long, the 786 cup and handle, right? So that's why I have to stay true to my altcoin, to my Bitcoin dominance chart right here. I think that it's very, very likely we see a break to the downside off of this 786. If we don't get that, man, Bitcoin dominance may just start screaming to the upside, and a lot of the altcoins may become obsolete. They really may, right? Everybody may just say, okay, screw this project. I don't care about it anymore. I'm going to hold Bitcoin, the winner, right? You know, it may end up like that. So very, very interesting. But on the day, some hotter projects that are popping up, Hex, EOS, and Stacks, baby, and Stacks. So that's what I'm looking at going on into the night here in regards to the crypto market. Let's pull on up the chat here. Make sure you guys are doing absolutely good. Thank you for being on in here, and I appreciate each and every single one of y'all's support of the channel. All right, here we go. Yeah, drop your coins in the chat, everybody. Drop your coins in the chat. I want to look over something really quick that's been popping up on my radar, and people have been asking me about Ethereum. What's the deal with Ethereum? Are we going to get a reversal for Ethereum? What is this inverted? Yeah, it had to be inverted. I was like, good night. So Ethereum, in this downward trend right here, you did have a little bit of, was that bullish divergence? No, not quite. So yeah, Ethereum is breaking out of this trend line right now. I gotta acknowledge that. And we're sitting right here, and you did get a little bit of wick down here, in my opinion, retesting the top of that trend line with the daily 21 curving in the upper direction. Looks very, very good. Looks good for Ethereum breaking above that downward sloping support line. I'll say this with Ethereum. I think there's stronger coins in the game. That's evidence over the past couple of months as the biggest altcoin has just bled in comparison, right, to not only Bitcoin, but a lot of the hotter alts in the game here on CoinMarketCap. These coins are closing the gap, baby. XRP, BNB, Solana closing the gap here on Ethereum that continues to suffer, continues to bleed. Let me remind everybody that Ethereum has an infinite supply. There is an infinite supply of Ethereum, so there can be more and more and more and more Ethereum every single day, and you'll see, if you just keep an eye on this circulating supply, this number ticks up pretty often. It really does. Ticks up an extra 100 ETH, 100 ETH, 100 ETH, and you'll see it, right? So that's very, very interesting. So just something to keep in mind. I think Solana's the same way, is it not? Yeah, infinite supply. And to me, I just can't get behind that, man. The only thing that has a limited supply in the top 10, you got XRP there at 100 billion XRP. Only about half are released, 58% released. So, you know, Brad Garlinghouse and the Ripple team have to release the rest. Either it's over-the-counter sales or if they said dump it on the market month by month, right? When it gets released from escrow, that's kind of the business model right now that they run out of, because they don't really make a lot of profit right now. Ripple, they're basing their valuation off the value of their cryptocurrency, which I disagree with. I think it should be more based off of the company and how it makes money. But they don't do that. They do it based off the value of the coin, which is held mostly by people. So that's very interesting. Cardano, again, a lot of the supply not out. You know, you got about 78% out, and Tron. But, you know, is this one? Yeah, this one's limited in supply to about 45 billion. Cardano, Tron has an unlimited supply as well. So you got to keep that in mind whenever you're looking at any of your projects, right? I like Sui, right? There's a lot of the supply that's not out, but you're capped at 10 billion Sui. That makes me happy that there will never be many more. And I can't be beaten down by inflation like a lot of Americans, a lot of people around the world are today, based off the government, the federal government printing absolute crazy amounts of money into the system, right? Into the system. So I just want to stay away from that. All right, Sinasty wants to dive on into Turbo. Turbo, something that's also been on the radar. I'm pretty sure this thing was #1 trending, man, on X. It was #1 trending, you know, for business and finance for a little bit. That was either yesterday or the day before, whenever I had that match. I think, a couple days ago maybe, or weeks ago. Yeah, so Turbo was definitely trending. So what I'm seeing here for Turbo, we had Turbo in that flag there, broke to the upside, boom, 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 baby. Looked really, really good. And now let's look at this with some fresh eyes. So we did have that flag, got that break to the upside, got that reaction, but now you're trending in a channel, right? Everybody can see this. We have a channel right here, a parallel channel. Parallel channels are really, really nice. It's pretty common to trade, and it supports out at resistance. Eventually, you're going to get a break of this parallel channel in one way, shape, or form. So what would a break look like? You could trade this one of two ways. In here, to me, right, whenever you're looking at parallel channels, I'm not really looking at trading this intraday. It's not something that I want to do or a game that I want to play. So here's would be my trading plan for Turbo. Turbo meme coin, right? It is what it is. It's going to move very, very violently. Even this move off the lows, 147% in just over a day. That is a crazy move for any asset in the game. So what would I be looking at here for Turbo? Well, you can play it like this. You can play, hey, Boys Crypto, this thing's going to break to the upside. I absolutely know it. And you can be like, okay, well, now wouldn't be a bad time to get into a long and put a stop beneath that low. Or if you're looking for a deeper stop hunt, maybe they dip it and rip it. They've been doing that a lot with the meme coins lately. So you could get that kind of action, but I would wait for a hotter entry, right, to get down here on the bounces of support, right? If you're planning on trading this, and this is technically a bull pennant, right, to the upside, right? A bull pennant to the upside looks really, really good for a break to the upside with the stochastics reset on the 4 hour. Are they reset on the daily? They're resetting on the daily. So Turbo looks to make a move here, and I do like that. I just took a glance here at the daily. You do have that VRVP here on the side, getting above the highest volume nodes. These are going to be areas of heavy support once you get over them for Turbo. So it looks very, very good for continuation and a massive short squeeze to the upside, not only above the daily 200 SMA, but all these areas where people are going to be shorting. You could get a massive rip out of here and then come down and get some massive volatility. You know, can that happen for Turbo? It's very, very likely, in my opinion, after you're consolidating here just underneath the daily 200 SMA. You guys know what happens when you get above the daily 200 SMA, baby, and there's no examples here. You can see an example of when you fell below, but this can easily be an upward movement here for Turbo. If you invert this, it's the same way. You get above that daily 200 MA and you boom to the upside, which would have been a great short opportunity. And here we are looking at the same picture here. Here we are looking at the same picture of a bull pennant to the upside. And you can even say this is getting tighter here with the wicks here on the daily, the 4 hours in confluence with that. I like it a little better here on the daily. And man, if you look at it on the daily there, this thing is getting really tight here, looking ready for a move with reset stochastics. So Turbo looks really, really hot to me right now. Out of this daily, I would say this is dependent on the daily. I wouldn't look at it on the 4 hour. I would look at it on the daily here. It gives me a lot more confidence, especially with the daily 200 SMA and the 21 coming up in the price action. That looks hot, man. It looks hot and it looks ready to rip, baby, to the upside. If you're looking to short for Turbo, what would be your thesis based off of a short? Well, you could say, hey, Boys Crypto, I see we're forming bear div here on the daily. And I would say, hey, yes, I agree with you. You have a daily bearish divergence that is forming here. You're making higher highs or equal highs here as you're slanting down here on the RSI. And you can say we're going to crack this low before we crack this high, right? And you could open up a short right to the downside. To me, after that kind of explosive move, I would have much rather, this would be a complete different conversation for me if we were above the daily 200 SMA. If we were doing what Sui's doing, got above the daily 200 SMA and consolidating in a very similar style of pattern, like bull pennant, bull flag, something like that, above the daily 200 SMA, that's where I'm feeling really, really heavy interested. So I'm kind of on the fence. Why? Because this daily 200 SMA did serve as resistance. It rejected you here, and you have not been able to get above it. That break of the 200 SMA would be confirmation to me that this bull flag is likely to continue to the upside. But I do acknowledge that there's that bear div there. I do acknowledge the caution. Just something that I would kind of sit on the sideline. If I was looking at this from a leverage perspective, I would just be on the sidelines and wait to see how this played out. A different kind of trade scenario that I would take right here, if I were trading this coin, you could look at this channel, right? Or you could look at the flag on the daily, but a break above, right? A break above here, any kind of break above the 200 SMA and a retest of that, and that would look beautiful in confluence with the 200 SMA curving over. You'd have not only a retest of the top of the pattern, but a retest of the daily 200 SMA. That would be a beautiful area to long for continuation to the upside for Turbo. The upside targets are absolutely massive on this thing. Looking to come up to at least that almost penny level. That would be monumental for Turbo from where you currently sit. Another 71% pump looks very, very likely to the upside. With Turbo, the only thing that that keeps me on the edge right now is that bear div and being underneath the daily 200 SMA. I would not care about the bear div if we got above the daily 200 SMA. That is my line in the sand. You guys know that. Everybody who's been watching me for a long time, I always talk about this red. I think I talk about this red line on every single chart, on every single on everything that we pull up. I'm talking about the daily 200 SMA because I understand the power of that one single simple indicator. Very, very important to me. So that's what I'm looking at for Turbo. Thank you for dropping that on our radar. Sin Nasty Kid, you're an absolute legend, man. I appreciate you. MHTIA, yeah, man, absolute. Woo! Dropping the waters here. I got like 4 water bottles here on the side. Got like 4 water bottles here. Got to keep the uvula moist, you know. All right, TAI. Let's dive on into TAI. TARS AI. So the TARS protocol is a very, very interesting project. Wow, we did have this, this is a couple days ago, not too long ago. Had it on a flag, inverted shoulder, head right shoulder. You could get that drop to the downside. You did. But the upside target was there, you know, a trade that just didn't work out. I don't think we didn't actually take this trade, but man, that was honestly kind of a disappointment right there. That's actually wild. Like, this was a continuation trade, and you got that dump to the downside. It is what it is. There were definitely risks that were there. We saw the inverted shoulder, head right shoulder, likely to pump. They decided to dump it out of this symmetrical triangle right here. Less of a flag, more of a symmetrical triangle, and we are going to clear that out and reset our thought process here on this coin. You can even see here about a little shoulder, head, right shoulder. I don't want to say that, right, because the shoulder is higher than the head, but interesting. Descending triangle does break down often. So that was very, very interesting to see for TARS AI. So TARS AI, let's look at this on the bigger picture. Here we go. So immediately what my mind sees is, and I'm sure a lot of you guys are seeing right now, is this giant cup and handle. You have a giant cup, a steep peak, and then now you have your handle, right? You have your handle coming down. Let me make this look a little nicer. Whoop. Make this look a little nicer here. You have your giant cup. Whoop. And you have your handle, baby. And this does look good, right? This does look good. It does look like a great pattern, and it takes some sack, man. It takes some sack, but I'll show you what I'm looking at here. Where would I be looking at getting into a long on TARS AI? You guys already know the answer. The 618786, right? Where cup and handles love to bounce from. That often marks the bottom. You made your higher high here on the daily, right? You can look at it here on the daily. You got your higher high here on the daily. Where's your first higher low likely to come in? You could say, hey, it could be the support resistance flip that you have right here. This served as support. Whoop. Support, and then resistance, right? Support, fell underneath, resistance, too, you got above. So that's an area of interest for me in confluence with this high volume node that's sitting down here, right? Very, very interesting. So let's see about this Fibonacci retrace right here from the swing low to the swing high. I'd be looking to come down to the 618786 area, and now you're in the golden pocket. Right? Being in the golden pocket, you could say, hey, I'm going to get out of the 618. You did get a little bit of a reaction here. But you're looking to come down. You could potentially come down to the 706 or the 786 here, That's your next likely zone. If you want to get in now and put a stop beneath the 786, hold on. Let me yell at my dogs real quick. All right, sorry, guys. They don't really respond to yelling. I just had to kick them once or twice. You know what I'm saying? That's the only thing that makes them be quiet. I'm telling you guys, when you get to that point with dogs, you got to either put a shock collar on them, turn it up to 100, and hit the button a couple times when they keep barking, or you just got to, do like you did in football, right? And kick the pig skin. It is what it is. I'm just kidding. I don't kick my dogs. But April does. All right, so here we go. We got that we got that cup and handle coming back down to the 786. Looks very, very likely here for TARS AI. If you're looking for a reaction, you could get a bounce from where you're at right now. That's a little bit more high risk, and it's surprising to me because this is a very, very cool project. I like TARS AI. I think the AI narrative is very, very strong. And it's surprising to me to see it dumping as a lot of the altcoins are getting a little bit of a pump a lump over the last couple of days. That's very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. So, yeah, I'd be waiting for that 786, man. Just based off of how the chart's looking for me, I'd like to see that 786. Yeah, with Bitcoin dominance, touch the 786. TARS AI, touch the 786. And then boom, baby. Boom to the upside. That would look really, really good out of the cup and handle. Let's see where that would take us here. You have a massive pull here. Shout out to you guys who like the massive pulls. To the upside, looks really, really good. Coming up to about 18, 19 cents from about 6 cents. That represents one of the hotter risk reward setups in the game. That's a 200% gainer. Even if you did open up a long right now with the stop below the 786, That's some pretty good risk management from my concern. Looking to go for a 9-to-1. You don't often see those, right, in crypto, 9-to-1 risk reward ratios on decent leverage. You could say, hey, you could open up this at 4x and let it ride the liquidation. That's a technique. I don't really recommend that because the fees are going to be a little high, but you definitely could do it. It's a trade idea, right? As long as you're using good risk management with the margin that you put in. But, TARS AI not looking like the strongest coin in the game right now. Very, very interesting. Hey, what's going on, Wanda? Hey, thanks for diving on in. Yes, and that's the kid. I appreciate you, man. Turbo Scalps the last couple nights, man. You've been absolutely killing it the last couple days. You're an absolute legend catching Housecoin as well. How's Housecoin doing, man? How's Housecoin doing? Oh! Let's look at it on Mexi. So, yeah, I mean, we talked about Housecoin here, getting that massive run to the upside on the daily over the past week or so, kind of getting a little bit of a slippage, that's for sure. Slippage, shoulder, head, right shoulder to the downside. You want to hold above that 4-hour 200 SMA, but you're playing 200 MA dominoes to the downside, not a sign that of strength right there. So, very, very interesting. I'll be waiting for a 618, 786 retrace right here of this range, and you're coming back down pretty close to it. That 786 sitting at about 3.5 cents. So to me, and it's crazy, that's another 25% to the downside, a 22% to the downside. But it's crazy how this coin ran, man. Sin Nasty kid putting that on our radar. You're an absolute legend, brother, catching this from the bottom to the top, almost a 10x from where he got in half a penny, baby, half a penny. And this is pulled from 9 cents. Where's half a penny at? Down here at about half a penny. Got in on that wick, man. That'd be crazy. About a 20x on your money. Shout out to you, man, in just about 2 weeks. That is something that you're not going to see very, very often. Shout out to you, man, in those big, big gains. Yeah, sad, still waiting for a good out. Oh, yeah, man, if you're waiting for an out, yeah, you're likely going to get a bounce in this zone. This is the golden pocket. I recommend this. Like, if you guys, and again, I'm not a financial advisor, right? But if you guys start having problems on a coin, right, and things are going down and you're like, oh, crap, I'm going to lose money, right, if I sell. You don't lose money. You don't take that net loss until you actually hit the sell button. And if you're coming down in the golden pocket retrace zone and you're hitting the sell button, to me, this is a dangerous zone, right? If you want to break the 786 and you're like, okay, I'll cut it there. But the risk of it bouncing right here in your face after you sold, that's one of the hardest things to face, right, in crypto. Once you sell out, and I'm sure all of you guys have felt that. I've felt it before, man, in my early trading career. Whenever you sell out at the bottom and then you see it rip 50% the next day, and you're like, ah! That's the worst feeling in the world, man. That's worst feeling than losing money, right, on a project, is seeing it pump the next day. That's frustrating, man. So, yeah, this golden pocket looks like a likely area where you could get a little bit of at least a reaction. And even if you could capitalize, man, on a little bit of a 20-30% pump to the upside, or even catch a reversal, from the 786. But the reversal, I can't say is really, really likely based off of this cup and handle right here, or not cup and handle, the shoulder, head, right shoulder. If you guys see that right here, you got a shoulder, head, right shoulder. You got a pretty clean break to the downside. Even if you're going for the wick, man, this takes you back from whence you came. So it's low market cap coins definitely have risk. I like the project. I think it's very, very interesting, and I'm interested to see what it can do. But hey, man, and that would take you into the negatives, right? So that's impossible. It can't even go there. So you just have to, really believe in it if you want to get in on it, man, right? Like, does this not remind you of the Manny coin chart? Like, remember when we went over Manny coin? You had a massive run to the upside, and then you had something, something happened internally, and then you didn't get a massive, absolute crash. But you got to get a bounce eventually, man. And it kind of reminds me of the early days, right? Because I remember when Manny coin first came out, man, it had like a 200-400% pump and then like an 80% dump or something like that. And then it resurged up to a $16 million market cap. That was crazy. But it just goes to show you the low volatility or the high volatility of some of these coins that have hardly any market cap in comparison to the entire crypto space. What's the market cap of Housecoin, man? Housecoin's got to be sitting low, baby. Market cap about $44.9 million. That is a very low market cap. Lock liquidity at 1.7 million. That's not too bad. But man, yeah, that's a small market cap. To 10x, you'd have to go to 440 million, and that wouldn't even put you in the top 100 projects. So that's to speak to the power of these low cap coins. They can do some massive damage. It's got a relatively good score here, and something else that I'm noticing here, just on the 1 hour time frame. Look at this, man. Look at this. If you're looking for a bounce, this may be your saving grace, right? You're in the golden pocket, but I'm seeing this. You do have a pretty strong divergence right there. You do have a higher low forming on the RSI while you're making lower lows here on price action. That to me suggests you're likely to crank this high before this low. That's some little, I don't want to call it hopium, but that's some hopium for you, man. That looks good. That a 1 hour bullish divergence, does it agree on the 2? It agrees on the 2. And not on the 3, but it agrees on the 1 and the 2. The 1 and the 2 hours say a reversal's imminent here for Housecoin, and this would be no joke, brother. From where you're sitting at right now, that would be a 42% pump just to get to the to get out of that. You're in a falling channel right here. Let's see what we can get here. Let's see what we can get here for Housecoin. You're in a little bit of a falling channel. You've touched it once, not even twice yet. I want to bend that a little bit, but I don't want to. So let's see, based off the candle closures. So to me, that's where you're sitting right here. You're in this falling wedge. You're in a falling wedge, man. You're in a falling wedge. And you could say, you could take it from there. That's a tough thing to chart, man. Tough thing to chart. But what I am seeing is that bullish divergence. You have a swing down here, and you could even use your bull div, man, as your bottom support line here. You have a swing down in price action while you have a swing up on the RSI. Looks like you could have a reversal here in the nearing hours. I would watch it very, very closely. You do not want to see a break below 41 there, man. 0.0417. That kind of be where that bull div does get invalidated on the 1 and the 2 hour. It may even start to form on the 3 hour time frame if the RSI can curve pretty quickly here. Let me see it again. Yeah. Nah, it's not gonna form. It can't form on the 3 hour. It can't, right? This is already formed the low and got that bounce. So you don't have anything to compare that to. Even you can say this swings down a little less, but that's really, really weak divergence in my opinion. So yeah, you get that reversal there on the hour, man. That looks really, really good to me. There's some hopium alive for you, brother. Do not freak out. Don't freak out. I'm not gonna say don't freak out, but you got some support levels. You're in the golden pocket. This is the area where it's likely to bounce. And you have bull div on the 1 and the 2 hour. To me, if you're in a loss on the coin, and I don't think you are, but if you're in a loss on the coin, getting out. If you got in at half a penny, brother, and you're still holding your stack, and you're getting in out at 45 versus 40, or 40 versus 45 in the potential reversal here, to me, I mean, it'd be worth the downside risk, but you have to analyze that risk for yourself. Shout out to you, brother. Shout out to you. Yeah, so that's an absolute crazy move for Housecoin. All right, MH, thank you, man. I appreciate you being here. Wanda, what's up? Sin Nasty Kid, Housecoin. Yep, made 3K profit on House, and you still have 7,000 coins. Shout out to you, brother. If you could, yeah. We'll see what happens to it, man. We'll see what happens. I like the narrative of the project. I think it's very, very interesting. So, yeah, even here, just over the course of the hour, we've seen some juicy pumps for the altcoins. Ondo up 0.5%. That's good to see. Whereas, Virtual's up about 5%. Some of the hotter coins in the game, man, Virtuals has just been absolutely crazy. Been one of the most volatile coins in the game. Let's take a peek at it real quick. Virtuals has been one of the hottest coins in the game ever since it had that massive pump, man. Look at the on the one. That's the 1 hour. The daily. Here we go. So Virtuals went on a tear from over the course of a week. It went from 54 cents all the way up to $1.90. That's a 251% gain in the span of 2 weeks on spot. That is absolutely crazy. 2.5xing your money without leverage. I know there's people out there. I know some of the lifers had some of those 10x juicy positions. You 25x your money, baby. You 25x your money in the course of 2 weeks that you put into that trade. Man, you can't complain with that. 1,000 turns into 25 grand, 10 grand turns into 250K, 100 turns into 2,500. However you want to look at it. I don't know what you guys trading strategy is or how much you guys are trading with, and I employ risk management, but man, regardless of that, you always got to look at percentage gains, and that was a massive percentage gain. No matter what leverage you had, or even if you just traded spot. Nothing wrong with just trading spot, everybody. Spot is totally fine. You can make massive amounts of money here in the crypto market on spot. That is very, very true. So let's look at this here on the 4 hour. Did you come back to a key fib? Looks like you did not. I don't think you can. You may have came back to 886. Did you? Yeah, you got the 886 touch right here on Virtuals. Dipped a little beneath the 786. Happens sometimes on the altcoins, and Virtuals has been one of those coins that respects the 886 a little more than the 786. Just something I've been noticing. Very interesting. So that may be your higher low, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high. That could be your higher low right here, and you could go and chase a higher high, but Virtuals is getting massively extended here. Sitting above the daily 200 SMA, that's an area where I'd love to see it hold. But we will have to see a 2.5x, man. That is crazy. So we could get a little bit of a bigger pennant here. And I think Virtuals is going to likely, more than likely, go sideways here over the next couple of weeks. Why? And look for that continuation move, that bigger move to the upside. Why? Because a break of this flag right here, a break of this flag takes you all the way back to almost the highs here. Or not even that. That's crazy. Up to about $3. Remember when Virtuals was at $3? Everybody's saying it was going to 20, 40. It could still do that. I think this is one of the biggest AI players in the game. I think if you're invested in a spot, I think $1.42 is a very fair price. I think 52 cents was a steal. That's one of the altcoins that I do hold. And I think Virtuals is going to do massive damage over the course of the bull run. I'm not interested in selling now. I think this thing could definitely get to 10 bucks. And I'm going to hold until it gets there. So it looks very, very good. Virtuals to the upside, a potential flag. This is a very early idea. This is a very, very early idea. I will put that on everybody's radar. You could even get a shoulder, head, right shoulder. A little too early to tell here. But on the daily time frame, looks very, very good. Let's see in an hour how this closes. I want to see it close above the daily 200 SMA, which is sitting at about $1.40, which is less than 1% beneath where we are. So we'll see how that closes. Stochastics are coming down the reset. That is a good sign too. So that's just more confidence. I think we're going to go sideways on Virtuals. I don't see a big pump coming anytime here soon for Virtuals. Even if Bitcoin does take off, I think a lot of the other altcoins are going to start moving. The ones that have not moved massively yet, I think are going to get a little bit of the love. So that's where I sit with my perspective on the altcoins right now. Nasty Kid wants to look at SUI, baby. SUI, my number one altcoin holding, baby. I love talking about this thing, man. I love it. I love it. All right, look, listen. We're going to go over this thing. I love going over this thing top to bottom. I really do. I really do. So for the past 10 days, SUI has been consolidating above the daily 200 SMA. I love that. I love that. It shows strength to me. It makes me feel good about the project. It makes me feel amazing. So you could get this bullish horn pattern, right? A bull flag, right? With a downward sloping support, with a horizontal, right? With the horizontal resistance, we could get that. I still like the bull flag idea. I still think there's likely a little more sideways action to come here on SUI. I'm kind of sticking with this range right here. I think that's likely to fill out as the stochastics start to bend here on the daily. I'll say this here. I'll say this on the channel. I'll zoom on out to show you guys here on the weekly. I think this coin has some of the biggest potential here of the bull market. I think a 4X is coming, and I think the more I look at the project and the more I do a little bit of a deep dive, I think this is really going to be the next SUI or the next Solana / Ethereum type project. This is faster than both of those. It works on the movement program language. For those of you who are not familiar, it is incredible. It is incredibly scalable. The project can do massive damage. It has scalability. It has a limited fixed supply. Unlike Ethereum, unlike Solana, it has massive partnerships through Pokemon, or that looks like they're coming to Pokemon. If that happens, it could really reach its way into the NFT and gaming space and supports DeFi finance applications. It's an all-in-one jack of all trades crypto that I think is really going to change the face of this game this cycle. I really do think that. Do not be surprised to see a $20 SUI here. I think this thing's going to run like Solana did in 2021. I think it's going to be gone, and when it's gone, I don't think it's going to come back. I think once we crack these highs, I think a quick trip to 12, 15, potentially even 20. I've seen some people projecting $30 for SUI. Could it happen? It has the market cap to support that, right? A 10x from here would be $100 billion. Look at this. This is not unfeasible, right? We're at $11 billion right now. If you were to come up and compete with Solana, and you know, you're talking about Solana, right? Which was, when it was trading at about 200 bucks, it was trading at almost $300, almost double the market cap, was at about 150 billion, right? Even if SUI got to $30, you would only been 2/3 of where Solana was at its high this cycle and last cycle. I think SUI could do some massive damage. I think it could get there, and I think it could get there quickly. I'm going to say that over and over and over again here on the channel as my number one altcoin hold. I think this thing could do some massive damage. I think 334 is a very fair price. I know a lot of people are, we're going to wait for 280. I don't really think we're going to get back there. I don't think we're coming back there. Oh, yeah, we're going to retest this support. I think this thing has too much momentum. And I think with Bitcoin moving in the right direction, I think this thing's going to move out of the bull flag. And I think it's going to move very, very quickly. I think this is going to be the move that catches everybody with their pants down, right? I really do. This reversal arguably was that. But I think this is going to be the move when SUI gets back up to $5 and people are crapping their pants like, holy crap, what's happening to SUI? That's when retail's going to get in and start FOMOing in at that $5 range, and we will have been getting in down at these juicy prices, 250, 270 right on spot. Leverage trades coming in at about 320, 325 as posted there on X. We're already in profit on that juicy trade, waiting for this bull flag. I think it's just going to take a little bit of time as these daily stochastics reset. That's going to take another couple of days. No stress. What I'd love to see, ideally for SUI, man, if you get this, and we start trading sideways and we start testing this resistance line and you see this flip, you see the blue line cross the signal line and start to curve, oh, baby, we are going to... Look, that's the ideal scenario for crypto, and these things can be overbought and remain overbought for a long time. After this move right here, we did have some consolidation. Does this not look so similar? Look at the... Look, I can't stop staring at this, man. I can't stop staring at this. This is like my obsession with the altcoins right now, right? And with this coin in particular. Does this candle, we had a run up, right? And then this consolidation period, right? And we didn't have the daily 200 MA back here because the project was so new. But does this consolidation not look so similar to where we're at right now? And I think the move after this, right? This is the initial hype run up. I don't think there's any hype in the space right now. It's not altcoin season, right? Nobody's, I mean, I think altcoin season is beginning, but it isn't confirmed yet. I think when altcoin season starts to take off, I think this thing runs and breaches into the top 6, 7, potentially even into the top 5 cryptos. I think it can happen. I think it can happen very, very fast, much like Solana did back in 2021. I think this thing's an absolute monster breeding. I really do. Consolidating above the daily 200 MA for about 10 days right now. Looks good as the stochastics are coming down the reset. I love it, man. You're in the fair value. You're not overbought anymore. And our RSI is starting to flatten out. It looks good. It looks good from a weekly time frame. The RSI is screaming in the upward direction. The 4-hour looking really, really good to go here out of the inverted shoulder, head right shoulder. You guys see that right here? Inverted shoulder, head right shoulder looks really, really good here for SUI to make that crack to the upside again, maybe even tonight. And, you know, this thing could run. This thing could definitely run without consolidating in that flag. The stochastics are already reset enough on the daily for that curve to happen very, very quickly. I think that can happen. Right? I'm not keeping that out of the card, so I'm not saying, oh, it's guaranteed going to consolidate, but man, you get out of that shoulder, head right shoulder, you're testing the highs up here at about 372, and this is on the 4-hour time frame. You test those 372, you break that high, and you could go very, very hard on SUI very, very quickly. And where would I be looking at the first area of resistance? Well, I'll zoom out now. I'll look at the VRVP. The first one coming in here at about 420, right? 420, very comical. Everybody loves to laugh at that. I don't know why. All right, so here we go. No, I'm just kidding. Shout out to all you guys who do the 420 stuff. What's going on? I don't know. April was saying something. I guess Wanda participates in the ganja, right? Wanda participates in the ganja. I wanted to shout that out there to Wanda, April, all the people who partake in the glorious weed that is weed. So that's very interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, it's crazy how red their eyes get. I'm telling you guys, when you guys are doing this, it looks like you pour salt and pepper in there. Absolutely wild. Very healthy. I'm just kidding. They're not potheads. They love it. They love it. They love the relaxation that you feel with the indica. I think indica is like a strand/brand of weed, right? Like you have Nikes for shoes, you have indica for weed. Like it's just a brand they love. All right, so here we go. We do have this area. So this is the area, man. You have the high volume node right here. That's your first area to go. We're not out of the water for SUI. You got the 618, 786 golden pocket retrace where if there was a lower high to come in, which I don't foresee, but could happen. Lower high to come in, it's likely to come in this 4 to 450 range. Above 450, you have this high volume node sitting at 472. Above 472, you're gone. So you could argue, right? Oh, Boys Crypto, that's really from where we are all the way up to 470. And I would agree, right? I would agree. So the levels I'm looking at for resistance, 618, 786. I wouldn't put too much validity on 706, and let's clear out this Fibonacci zone right here. These are the levels of interest that I'm looking at for SUI to the upside. This is your golden pocket right here. This is your high volume node, and this is your second high volume node. The point of control sitting just underneath it right now for SUI, for SUI. I think these are the areas where we're likely to get the next lower high in the event that we did get that. And then you have that small high volume node. Let me take this off here. I'm not even going to give that validity right there at the highs because I think when the momentum kicks off from this bull flag, you squeeze through this gap in the VRVP. And the 618 sitting in that gap in the VRVP, I'd say you'd have to come up here to the 786. The 618, given the gap in the VRVP there, I'm not confident that you're going to have a lot of sell orders come in at that price in this area because the squeeze potential is so high based off of the shorts that are likely sitting in here from around $4.18. There's still shorts from up here, everybody, that could squeeze, that could really squeeze through to the upside. I think this is the hottest project in the game, and I'm going to put that right out in front of you guys. That's my freebie, baby. I think this thing's going to print millionaires this cycle. I really do. So, Suey, man, Suey, I wish I could 420. Yeah, man, yeehaw. I don't know what job you're in, man, but yeah, I couldn't the entire time I was in the military, and I had a gummy at one point or something, but I didn't do too much. I can't smoke, man. My lungs, you know, I can't do any of the smoking stuff. I really can't. I can't do it with my lungs. I don't know. It's just not for me. I have to do the edibles, or you know what I mean? Like, you know, you guys. I had to do the edibles, or, you know, the stuff that you ingest through your intestines, like the coffee enemas and stuff like that. That's how I'd ingest my weed if I could. But no, I'm just kidding, Sinesi. Get the dirty thoughts out of your mind, man. I know. Don't go trying it either. You know, there was some people. I saw this, right? I saw a streamer and he looked it up. He said, coffee enema, right? And they have these kits, right? They have these kits. I think some of them come with gloves, right? This is the beginner bundle. If you guys want today, this is the beginner bundle. Maybe I'll give one of these away, right? Maybe I'll give one of these away. Look, you're pouring it in the bag like they're just looking all casual, like not sure if they really want to do it. You filter it up on the wall, and Sin Nasty Kid, you have your legs up on the wall. You have the legs up on your wall of your bathroom. I recommend cleaning the floor first. We have your legs up on the wall, and you just drain this stuff into the booty hole, man. Very interesting. Very interesting. I don't recommend doing that with hot coffee, man. But if you got to set up some space in the bathroom, let me know how it goes. That would be absolutely insane to try. What are some of these pictures right here? Get out of here. What, Happy Bum Company? Oh, my goodness. Happy Bum, but sad toilet. I'll tell you what, that would be a disaster, upside down volcano situation. They'd be looking like those toilets back on the ship in the Navy. I'm telling you guys. I'm not even going to get into that, but man, I'll tell you what, this would be very interesting. Powerful stain remove. What is this? Enema cleaner, non-toxic cleaning powder, plant-based ingredients, powerful stain remover. That's good, man. You always want that powerful stain, biodegradable. That's hot, man. That's hot. So really interesting, really interesting. You got different kind of roasts, right? I wonder if these are specifically designed. Organic coffee roast, to Happy Bum. That's interesting, man. Yeah, so shout out to you guys. If you guys want to give it a try, let me know. Give me a little bit of a review. Give me some reviews on this stuff and recommend ones that you guys think I should try. Maybe I'll post my own review. This is very interesting stuff. I know it's a little sidetrack from crypto, but they even have a little guide there. That'd be insane. Instruction manual. I wonder if the instruction manual has diagrams. That'd be cool. All right, so yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting. So the tidbits, right? The tidbits. If I had those legs, I'd never leave my house. Yeah, man. Shout out to you. Oh, man. I hear you. Right. Here we go. Oh, yeah. The dude asked my lady today at the, she has a really nice paying job, right? And he was like, what do you do to make so much money? I was like, she does OnlyFans. And he started laughing, man. I was like, no, I'm just kidding. She does feet pics on OnlyFans. No big deal, right? Yeah, no, she's like, yeah, shout out to you guys if you guys do OnlyFans. I don't have the feet for that, but if you guys sell feet pictures, you know, hey, shout out to you. All right, so here we go on Reuters.com. You know, this just kind of gives you some synopsis, right, of what the Fed said today. And this face says it all. I have no idea what's happening. That's what Jerome Powell essentially said. He's like, I don't know how the trade war is going to play out. And you have a lot of analysts that dived on in here, chief economists that kind of weighed on in here. Statements trying to send a message, economic environment more difficult. The reserve is in a bind, right? This is exactly what we talked about earlier. Concerns about inflation and economic slump. Higher unemployment, pulling them in two opposite directions. We just talked about that, right? So very, very interesting. If you guys want to get the synopsis, you can always go over here to Reuters.com. I do trust them. Very, very interesting, right? It just gives you kind of like snapshots of world news and business meetings and things like that. So really, really interesting to see that. All right, that's what I'm looking at. Everybody. Hey, that is so look, hey, everybody, I had such a fun show. I appreciate each and every single one of you guys for diving on in with me tonight and foaming on over the market that looks hot and juicy and ripe for some gains to the upside. I think a lot of these projects can do some massive damage. You know what? Before I head on out of here, I'm not done out of juice yet. I'm not out of juice. I promise you guys. All right, let's look at Fartcoin. And you guys know how I feel about Fartcoin, man. Like, come on. Let me get this out of here. Let's look at Fartcoin. I got to acknowledge this. In front of the whole world. I got to acknowledge this, right? I'm not a believer in Fartcoin. If you're a believer in Fartcoin, more power to you. With that being said, this is a meme coin that has rallied, right? Has been rallying since the 12th of March. Most altcoins have not done that. Most meme coins have not done that. And Fartcoin has shown true resilience right here in a trend that is looking to hold higher highs, higher lows. Now, seeing this, and I was like, man, Fartcoin is kind of looking hot right now. It really is. You have a higher high, a higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high. And this to me is looking like a higher low. And you can pull this Fibonacci here, and these fibs, right, from swing low to swing high, come down 786, right? From swing low, the range, to swing high, and you're respecting some of the more bullish, the 382. We don't talk about the 382 really much, but when an asset is really bullish, it'll bounce from the 382. You got a 618 retrace right there off the wick to the upside. So higher lows coming on in here for Fartcoin, looking very, very good. You know, you could argue that, hey, Boys Crypto, this is a wedge and it broke to the downside. I can't really get behind that when we're making higher highs, higher lows, and this is a 618 retrace based off the prior range. So Fartcoin to me is looking very, very interesting. I would put this channel more like this, right? And say that you're just bouncing. So you have a very, very steep channel. These break down most of the time. I'm not going to lie to you guys. They do. But when they break up, in the event that they do break up, and now 68, 70% of chance they're going to break to the downside. True. But if they break up, if Fartcoin gets this miraculous rally and cranks through this resistance, you can see a very, very parabolic run on this asset. And it's just something I want to keep on everybody's radar. The potential for Fartcoin right here to make another higher low and go and test this resistance again. You crank that resistance that's been touched once, twice, 3, 4 times, and you get above it, preferably above it. Let's get rid of that. Whoop, 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 whoop. You get above it here. If you could get above and retest this for Fartcoin, that would show insane strength. Above, retest, and then move to the highs. A meme coin like this can do some massive damage. And the AI space is heating up. And I don't know what this coin has when it comes to AI, but it's in the AI sector. Some reason on CoinMarketCap. If you guys understand how Fartcoin is teed with EI at number 68 on the charts right now. So Fartcoin, it has a no joke $1 billion in Fartcoin, right? And is there a limited supply? There is. There's a billion Fartcoin. So every Fartcoin that you have is worth a fraction of that market cap. 1 billionth of the market cap. So very, very interesting. You could get some hype behind this coin, and this thing could do some massive, massive damage. I have no idea what the narrative is, behind. I get it, farts being funny and whatnot, but jumping into the AI space, if they do end up getting and adopting some source of utility, you could get a massive scream here to the upside as people start taking an interest, in my opinion, in memes with some kind of utility, right? Some kind of burn mechanism, some kind of reward system / staking / anything. If this gets into the AI space and starts doing things similar to the virtuals where you can start building on a platform, on a language that is usable, right? Python, movement, something like that. You can get a massive move to the upside for Fartcoin. So that was just something that that was just something that I was tracking and looking at here on the near term here for Fartcoin. I think Fartcoin could do some massive damage in the event that it does get out of that. I'm not saying that you could definitely get that cup and handle vibe, right? Come back down to a macro 618, 786. But I think that is, in the environment that we're in, I think this thing could definitely move to the upside and scream with a vengeance to the upside here on the weekly. We don't have a lot of data here coming out not too long ago. So was this just a massive retrace before something bigger for Fartcoin? That's a question that remains to be answered. So we will keep track of that. We'll look at Fartcoin. I remember back when it was first filing off, man, it was like every day it was the biggest, fattest bubble. It was like a bubble this big here on the, it was a bubble this big here on Boobles, baby, on Boobles. So that's interesting. Just kind of giving a little glance on over all the hot projects today, man. That is absolutely wild. It is nice to see some green in the space. And, you know, it's been growing. Look at this month, man. Look at this month. This just shows the power of the altcoins. This in the last 30 days, you see things up over 100%, and it's not even alt season. In the event alt season did start, I am tracking that. I still think I'll stand by my bias. I still am going to hold that this 786 is going to hold out of this inverted cup and handle. And we've got time. We've got time. You know, that could have been the top right there. We'll see. You never know, right? You never know. You never truly know. Where did I see this div on the 1 hour? Yeah, div on the 1 hour, right? Starting to get that rollover. We'll see. I'm not saying Bitcoin dominance is running out of strength right here. I still think there's a big gap up, but we have an upward resistance of that cup and handle, right? That inverted cup and handle on the daily and matched with the 786. I see a turnaround coming very, very quickly for Bitcoin dominance. There is still room to go to the upside, but I don't see this kind of divergent. Look at this, man. This is insane. This is absolutely insane. Look at this div. You have a swing across, and that's getting invalidated as we speak. But we still have a swing across here on price action. Let me see if there's anything on the higher time frames, man. This is insane. So the two-day, and you're kind of stretching it to these higher time frames here. The 2-day doesn't have it either. Nope. This is the 3-day. So you're violating all sorts of bear div here, and you're up at the 80 for the 3-day on Bitcoin dominance. The weekly, 10 weekly candles in a row for Bitcoin dominance. That's insane. That represents 3 months of time, people, that Bitcoin has overtaken the average altcoin. Boom to the upside. So we'll see if we get that reversal. Very, very, I don't even think in Bitcoin's history have you seen 10 candles in a row of any color. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This was the 10th one right here. So that's very interesting. You know, maybe, oh, that's the 10th one. And then you get the, you know, I don't want to say it like that. That's kind of, you know, not in confluence with what I believe charting is to be. But that could be the rollover here on the 1 hour. We're still in the golden pocket. The reversal could happen at any time. So keep that in the back of your mind. I think altcoin season is looming. If it's going to start, it's going to start very soon. It's going to start this week / next week. I give it 2 weeks. I give it 2 weeks, everybody. I'll put that on here. The 14-day timer starts right now. And 2 weeks from now on the stream, we're going to say, hey, are we at this, is alt season starting or is Bitcoin dominance taking over? And I will give you a clear answer when we get to that point, right? I'll give you a clear answer when we get to that point, when I dive on into the charts into Bitcoin dominance 2 weeks from today. I'm even going to look that on my calendar. That's around the 20th. Yeah. So we'll take a peek at it. If altcoin season is going to start, it needs to start now before we hit 66.5. 66.5, it just sits 1% above where we are right now. You need to see it turn over. You need to see it turn over right now, right? Like the risk reward to be in the altcoins is incredibly low right now, right? You're risking 1% on Bitcoin dominance for a potential 30% drop. So to me, it's worth it to be holding on to the altcoins right now for a massive parabolic altcoin rally like what we had back here in November, right? Like what we had back here. This is how it will happen. It's likely you're going to go from a high and you're going to get to a low real quick. You're going to start playing 200 MA dominoes to the downside, and you're going to see a massive rollover for BTC dominance. And you're going to see a lot of these altcoins pump like you've never seen before. I think that's very, very likely off that 786 out of the inverted cup and handle here on the weekly, baby. On the weekly. All right, so Nasty Kid, what's up, man? He said meme coins have been great for scalping the last 2 weeks. Yeah, brother. I don't disagree with you. Yeah, meme coins have been hot. Meme coins have been hot. Man, I would love to see this that'd be crazy if we see the top for Bitcoin dominance here on the stream. And I keep saying that, man. I know people are like, this is the top, this is the top. I'm not saying this is the top. I'm saying that the top could come in anytime between here and 66.5. We break above 66.5, which is just up here. Right? And we close a weekly candle, which closes in how many days? Not too many, right? In 4 days. And what day is it? Is it Wednesday? It is Wednesday. Unemployment initial jobless claims coming out tomorrow. So we got a couple of days. I think this could lead to a massive reversal, right? I think, even if we pushed up in the next couple of days and we got a candle that looks like this is how I think it will start. This is how I think all season will start. This is how it started right here. And this is how it started right here. So, or this is how, the alt season could potentially start with that wick into the golden pocket, right? I think that's very, very likely coming up here in the coming days. In the coming days, I'd say the next 2 weeks, we'll know if we're going to have an alt season or if we're not, in my opinion. If Bitcoin's going to go and test those highs, it could be definitely Bitcoin season, Bitcoin super cycle time. If that happens, hey, more power to Bitcoin. Bitcoin, the #1 investment, in my opinion. I got to say that, right? I got to say that. I know that makes people upset. but it's just my investment strategy. So this is just for entertainment, everybody. It's just my opinion, my views on the market. I still see that inverted cup and handle looking to gap down in those beautiful gaps in the VRVP. But that's what I got for you guys tonight on the Boys Crypto channel. Thank you each and every single one of you guys for being here. We have Crypto Fear and Greed sitting at a 67. We were getting in down here in the fear, baby, last month. You know, on Total 3. Total 3 was looking hot, and Total 3 now sitting above what I believe is our box of remembrance. We are currently above our box of remembrance here on the daily. We're outside of it, right? Just barely, but we are outside our box of remembrance. This is where the Boys Crypto and the community, right? Looking like that right shoulder is going to come into fruition. We were averaging in down here and down here on the altcoins, and we're feeling pretty good about our investments right now. Shout out to each and every single one of you guys that were following that. Not advice, just entertainment, right? So that's everything I got for you guys tonight. Hot Fed day. We'll see how the Asian markets respond to it. Keep up to date with me on X. If I do end up diving on into any leverage trades, I'll let you guys know if I'm buying anything seeing anything spicy in the charts, and I will let you guys get some rest on this Wednesday night. We'll hit it again tomorrow hard, baby, on the live. Much love, everybody. I think that you guys are absolutely awesome. Thank you for being here, supporting me. Make sure you hit that like button before you head on out. Drop some comments if you can. You guys are awesome. I appreciate the support. Much love, everybody. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Until then, Boys Crypto is out, baby. We are out. Much love. Have a great Thursday night, and thank you for being here. Oh, I just realized I didn't have my light on. I didn't have my normal light on. I don't know why I flipped that off. That's why I'm a little darker today, but I will be back to normal tomorrow. Much love, everybody. I'll see you guys tomorrow.